morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We got this big yellow thing in the sky this morning. I think it's called the sun. Woohoo. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Golly, we got a great show planned today. It is Friday. Can y'all believe that already? Yes, indeed it is. And we got a good truth bomb going for you all today, to say the least. You guys are going to love it. It's going to seem so basic, but you know what? At the end of the day, so a lot of times we just make things hard. And, that's one thing we want to talk about today is how to make things easier. Absolutely. And none of us mind working hard, but let's figure out what we can do to make things a little bit easier in our lives. And we've had a great start to the day today, to say the least. And with Aaron and Eric and Daniel, and Darren's coming up after me, so the beat goes on, right? If you had one chance, one opportunity, would you take it? Or are you going to let it slip away? And I got one thing too that I want to talk about today. I hope we get to, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I don't know if we'll make that or not, but I think you'll find it a little bit interesting, to say the least. I just wanted to get your all's opinion on it because, thing is, we all work together. We all have something different and better. And that is the reality of that. I don't know what you guys are into today. Shoot me a text. Let me know. Let me know what you're into today. You doing a little bit of mowing or landscaping or lawn applications, or did you take the Friday off to go do what you like to do? Maybe it's just sitting reading a book, or maybe it's going fishing, or maybe it's doing absolutely taking a road trip somewhere. So a lot of different things, a lot of different things. We got a little bit of going on here today at WLS. Got a little doing some lawn applications, literally just a couple jobs mowing, and then a little bit of bed maintenance and a little bit of landscaping. So hopefully we're going to be done and out of here sometime early afternoon, lunchtime frame. Everybody's had a pretty good week this week, even with the rain that we've worked around. We've had a lot of rain, but imagine that, right? But we're going to try to get that figured out and see if we can't get a little help from Mother Nature here next several days. Hopefully, Brett's going to hop on with me today with BAM. And as long as they didn't have anything crazy going on, he was going to try to hop on. But, I tell you, something very, very interesting, I think, that I want to talk about is this outstanding pot roast that I had last night. I don't know how many of you guys use a crock pot, or if if you use them in your life or not. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But I'll tell you what, man. I had a roast last night that was crazy good. The roast potatoes, carrots kind of thing in a crock pot. And I know a lot of you guys are probably doing that, or Instapots, or air frying a whole lot of food now. It's a whole lot of different ways to make food, but man, it was just really, really good. It was really, really good. Walked in last night after work and opened the door and was like, oh my God, that smells good. So I don't know what y'all's go to when it comes to stuff like that. I want to hear a little bit about that. And yeah, we're going to talk business here in just a second. And then I was talking about it at work this morning, and then Chris, one of our guys here, was talking about some version of pot roast. Yes. How did you know? You weren't even here. It was Mississippi pot roast. Katie came in through the clutch, but I'm like, man, what's in that? And he got into talking about banana peppers and some ranch seasoning packets, or I don't know. I'm taking that suggestion to the house. So we're going to give that a whirl and see what that's like. So I don't know if you guys have had it or not, but Katie, Katie knew right off the bat what it was. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I do want to give a big shout out to Tabitha on an A for the day on the potluck pot roast, if you will, and it was really good. It was really, really good. So I know I can hear some of you guys saying, "Well, damn, you just put it in the pot, in the crock pot, and let it roll." But that's what makes them so good. I mean, you literally did not need a fork with this roast. I mean, it just oh man, it was like pull apart. It was good. So going to give Tab a 10 on that. And she told me not to say anything about it, but I just had to because it was just really, really good. And then, oh my God, I made some noodles, and because I wanted some noodles versus potatoes on going carb route. And oh my God, those noodles were so good with a little bit of that au jus on there or gravy. Oh my. So, anyways, but did not overdo it. I will say that. Almost took a picture of my plate and put it out there for in our family thing, so they didn't think I was just dogging too much of it up. But I'm here to tell you, man, it was good. It was flat out good. So I think what I've decided, if any of you guys come to my house, I'm going to do a crock pot roast for y'all because, man, that was outstanding. So we'll leave that alone for now. We'll leave that alone for now. But hey, what do you guys got going tonight? This weekend, anybody do anything fun? Come on, let me know what you're going to do fun. Um, hopefully you guys are getting into something fun to entertain yourself a little bit, not just work, work, work. Working's great. I mean, it took me a long time to understand that, working 20 hours a week or 20 hours a week, 20 hours a day because my dad used to joke about it too. When he retired from his regular job in gosh, I can't even remember what year it was now, 1990, I think. 1989, somewhere in there, and he came to work from us. He used to joke about it and say that, yeah, he said, I'm only working 40 hours a week now instead of 80 or 90 hours a week like he used to work. And the message that he brought to me was, working a lot is a hell of a good thing to do if that's what you like to do. He says, but Wayne, he said, I've just got one suggestion. You figure it out to where you don't have to, because you miss a whole lot of your kids growing up. And he said, I missed that. He said, I missed that. He said, we did well. We worked hard. Your mother and I had a great marriage. He said, but I missed you guys growing up. So I just want you guys to know that, if you're working long and hard because that's what you want to do, then do that. But if you're working daylight to dark because that's what you got to do, make some changes. Make some changes. That's all I'm saying. John said 90 degrees Sunday for them, pool, barbecue, and Miller Lite. That sounds like a daggone good plan, man. Absolutely sounds like a good plan. Actually, we're going to have a little deck party tonight. Well, since, lake season's not going to be lake season this year, doesn't sound like very much of it anyway. We're still flooded and way above summer pools. So, yeah, we're just going to do a deck party. So might do a little bit of that, John and myself on my deck tonight. So we'll see how that all goes. But that sounds like a good plan. Good plan. Work hard, play harder. That's going to be the message of the day. That's truth bomb for today. Work hard, play harder. And when I honest to God, when I did change my life around and started doing things like that based on my dad telling me that, our business has been better for it. It really is. And really has been for many years now. And you got to make a decision on what you want to do. And, like I said, if that's what you like to do is just work, then that's okay if you're working because you want to. But when you're out there hammering at daylight to dark because that's what you got to do to make ends meet, put a different plan together. Put a different business plan together. And because there is a different way to do it. And again, I don't want you guys to hear me saying it's not necessary to work hard or long hours. We all do it. We all do it. But if it's something that it's a constant in your life, then, it may be reevaluation of, hey, maybe I need to find somebody within my business, or bring somebody into my business that can take some of these roles over, that will not only help the business grow and be better, but get back some of that mental health of getting some personal time. Because I used to really, and I'll be the first one to tell you guys, I was the first one that thought, man, getting at work at the crack of dawn and leaving at 9 at night was a great idea, whatever time, fill in the blank, whatever time it was, you know. But what I've finally realized after a few discussions with my dad and some reorganization on how I was going to do things within my business, that we could do things different and better, work hard, still commit to a number of hours that made it work, but also freed up some time for family time, free time, your time. Because when when you're in 100% work mode all the time, and trust me, I'm not saying don't work. I am not saying that. I'm just saying make sure that you got the business plan in place, that you're doing it because you want to do it and not because you have to do it. And those are two distinctly different things. And again, I'm going to say it, then I'm going to move on, but don't make the mistakes Wayne made by doing that. You don't accomplish any more. You don't feel any better about yourself, but you're just, that's your out. That's your out to feeling good. Find something that's going to be mental health better for you, and just get a better plan together. That's what I want to say. Get a better plan together. And that is my truth bomb for today. Or that's going to be one of the truth bombs for today. We've got a lot of them as we're going to move along for sure. But, the reality of it is there's a whole lot more things in life that can be more important than work. Because I'm going to tell you, if ever you've been sick, and I don't mean a cold or COVID or some bullshit where you're going to be better in a couple days, but I'm talking about where you're laying in a hospital bed wondering if you're going to survive or not. The last thing you're going to be thinking about is, damn, I wish I was at work. That is the absolute last thing you're going to be thinking about. Take my word on that. I've seen it from different perspectives. So take the time, get you a little free time in. To Mike's point, take a walk. It helps your mental health a lot, So mental health is a real thing, and do what's good and keep the good going. But Mike said it made him more aware of his physical health or lack of physical health. So, yeah, a lot of things can go there, and I'm sure Daniel could give us some input on that, but we're going to give y'all a little bit of a break on that. We're going to talk a little bit more about the business side of things today. And one thing I wanted to talk about too on the business side of things is Katie's been spending several minutes this morning working with our company, Unified Technology, that has our phone systems here at work, and trying to get her phone of all the phones that we're having a little issue out of. But that makes sense because she's on it quite a bit. So getting that figured out. So let's see what Seth has to say. He said, absolutely, Wayne. He said, after losing my dad at a young age, it gave me a different perspective on life. Take those personal days. It'll be okay. Absolutely, man. Absolutely, Seth. And I'm sorry that happened to you 100%. But we're gonna do a we're gonna talk a little more about that on another date. So, because there is a whole lot more things more important than one more call, one more bid, one more job. in your life. And you all know me. I mean, I love talking about profit. I love talking about business. And but I also don't want you all to be slow learners like I was, and understanding the fact that there's more to life than 24/7 business. There really is. There really is. So. Um, Good deal. Good deal. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you doing that, my friend. Appreciate you doing that. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well here in a minute, but we're hoping they get Katie's phone rolling. Supposedly, they've got it up and rocking this morning and back to normal, but y'all, you know how that goes. Sometimes a reset works, but sometimes it takes a little more than a reset. But other than that, I do want to give everybody a big shout out that was on Turfs Up before me this morning. That's Aaron and Eric and Jennifer. Eric and Jennifer had a great show talking about calibration and, bidding jobs. And speaking of bidding jobs, when they were talking about that, I thought, boom, baby. That's right up my alley. I love that side of the business. As a matter of fact, next week, Wednesday, June 25th, Wednesday evening, that is, at 7 p.m., we're having a webinar on how to properly bid a job. And what we're actually going to talk about is cost calculation. How do you recover the cost in a job, regardless of what service you provide for all of your trucks, all of your equipment, your additional overhead, your labor. We're actually going to go through some sheets on that. So, Mike, I appreciate you sending me a text saying that you've invited some people to that webinar. And it does help. It does help when you see that happen. And when I say when you see that happen, what I mean is when you see as you go through a spreadsheet that, hey, this truck is costing me, $1.47 a mile or $8.26 an hour, or however you can break it up different ways, and we're going to talk about that. But regardless of what the amount is, whether it's a truck or it's a sprayer or it's a skid steer or tractor or lawnmower or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. When you see that, hey, this is what this cost, and this is what my blowers cost, and this is what my seeder cost, and this is what the bush hog cost, and this is what the lift cost that we're hanging our holiday lights with. And when you see all those numbers turn into a real number for your company, the most, I'm trying to think of the right word, confidence. You will have so much more confidence in why you're charging what you're charging for your services that it almost gives you an unfair advantage in the selling process against your competitors. Yes, I said competitors. I know some of you guys talk about you don't have competition and blah, blah, blah. And that's cool if you want to live in that world. But the reality of it is, yes, you do have competitors. Now, yes, there's also plenty of work out there for everybody. So, and, even though you may not be in direct competition with everybody, they are suppliers of a given service within any given market. So the contractor that's going to be positioned best, whether you're doing, mowing, landscaping, lighting, power washing, roofs, regardless of what service industry you're in, irrigation, doesn't matter. The contractor that positions themselves the best is the contractor that understands their cost. And that's going to allow you and give you the opportunity to do several things. But number one, it's going to give you the opportunity to and have the confidence to price your jobs the way you know they need to be priced. But also, what it helped me with, one of the big things that it helped me with was help me and define who my customer needed to be. All of a sudden, I couldn't be everything to everybody like I thought I wanted to be. you know. And if you haven't experienced that yet, then you need to experience that to understand that when that phone rings, we love it. Or when that lead comes in through our website, we love it. Don't get me wrong. But what we do first and foremost is try to figure out two different ways of looking at it. Do they fit, or why to say no? Now, some people think that's a crazy mindset, but the reality of it is not every time your phone rings or not every time you get a lead generated through whatever source of marketing and advertising you're using, every time you get that lead does not make it a good lead for your company. And sometimes we get lost in that, you know? But what happened to me, and this goes back a long time ago, when we sat down and actually sat down and calculated our cost per hour of operation, we had been in business 9 years. And I'll share this story in my webinar next week and go more in depth. But the reality of it is we went 9 years at Wayne's Lawn Service without really knowing, not thinking and not taking what we made versus what we had left and all these other ways we did it because we didn't know what we didn't know. But when you sit down and you really know what it costs you to provide a service, regardless of what that service is, man, it gives you the confidence and the freedom that you've never had before on knowing when to say no. And that, my friends, is a personal feeling that until you experience it, you don't know what you're missing. And that is the reality of it. That is just the reality of it. Let's see, we got to text it. Without direction, confidence is non-existence. Just my opinion, he said. Had a credit card processing guy cold call me. He quickly jumped from card processing to SEO, Facebook marketing, all in a 7-minute conversation. When I say conversation, I maybe got 3 words in and 30 yells. Oh, yeah. Sound like that conversation might have not been going in the right direction for you, Mike. But that is definitely reality. Definitely reality. So, but anyways, we beat that horse pretty good, and I talked longer about our upcoming webinar for sure. But hey, if you're really interested in seeing how easy it actually is, be sure to join us next Wednesday night. That's June 25th at 7 p.m. Though it's an open webinar, so if you got anybody else in the business that you'd like to sit in the webinar, it's an open webinar. You can simply go to our profitsorus.com website. The Profit Circle is right there, and that link is right there for you. So with that being said, we're going to take a short break. We had a little training yesterday here in our office from Stephen West, and Stephen, if you're listening, we certainly appreciated it, and some training and CEUs that he's putting together for our local market and classes that he's going to do. But I'll tell you what, man, I was brain tired when he left. I am not going to lie. Daniel and Katie kept up really well with it, and I tried to keep up, but you know what? I was kind of dozing off and on. No, not really. But Stephen has got a wealth of knowledge and is very good at what he does. He understands what he does. He's got his degree in what he does. And, it's just he's just something else. So when Eric and Jennifer were talking about calibration today, it was just crazy, man, hearing them talk about that and thinking, man, I just went brain tired yesterday, because Stephen was talking about it's so crazy, man, because they connected, Eric and Jennifer and Stephen on the same topic, just hours apart, basically. And but Stephen came in yesterday. He says, he said, I want guys to be able to understand, first of all, the calibration side and how important that can be. And absolutely important, no doubt about it. But also, he said, I want somebody to understand when they look at a product like prodiamine, for an example, your pre-emergent that may be on a fertilizer. He said, I've got guys that say, well, I'm not as much worried about my pre-emergent amount as I am. I want a half a pound of nitrogen down. How do I figure that out? And I mean, these are licensed applicators. And, so Stephen got into breaking down and showing us what he was going to talk about, hey, here's how if you want the nitrogen side of that and the target is not the pre-emergent, here's how you do it. But what you got to be careful for and looking at that label is it, is it listed as a percentage, or an example would be like Merit insecticide where it's 0.2% and not 2%, and how to turn that 0.2 into a decimal so you can do your math on it. So and I'm sure Eric gets into the same thing when he talks about how to calculate use rates, with his CEU classes. So the point is, just anytime you've got a chance to get education, get the education. And I know a lot of guys get CEUs just because they got to have CEUs. I'm not going to lie. I go to some of those classes just because, hey, I've got to have so many CEUs, and ours, they've actually changed ours in the state of Kentucky on how they work. You used to have 3 years to get your CEUs, but now it's on a rotating year kind of thing. So makes it a little bit more challenging on how you're going to do it. So, but it's good for the industry on the challenge that it put in there, because now it's more consistent education. And, what it boils down to, in my opinion, is training and education should be the separator between you and your competitor, not cost. But you've got to be properly trained and educated, in order to let that be the separator and not just the cost of the service. And so, we can help you with both here on Turf's Up. That's the reality. Stephen with Sigma Organics, he's going to be helping people with it. So no problem, Mike. That's what we're here for, man. Check it out. You're a Kentucky guy too. So, check that out and you'll see. And that started a few years ago. I'm not sure exactly when, but it really is a good opportunity to get education and be smarter and work smarter, not harder kind of concept. And that's as old as Methuselah, so that's that whole concept in working order. But it was, and today when Eric was talking about calibration, it's like, and he made a very good point. It's not something you do, once and forget. I mean, it's an all the time thing. I mean, our applicators, we really tell them to watch their tank per job, and no, because you're going to have a different pace of walk, especially, in the afternoon than you are in the morning. I mean, as you do things during the day, your walk's going to get a little bit different, so you can't just say, well, hey, okay, well, I'm calibrated for a gallon a minute or 2 gallons a minute, or, if you're on a Z spray or whatever type sprayer you're riding, you can't just get the calibration and forget it. You've got to know that, overlap comes into play on those things. There's the variables, and we're not going to get all into that today, but Eric is, I'm sure, at his training classes, and Stephen will when he has his. But the point is, with calibration, it affects not just chemical use, but it's being environmentally sound and gets into BMPs, but you certainly want to do it from a profitability standpoint as well. And you say, well, what's the difference if we're going faster, man? We're not applying as much chemical. Well, yeah, and you don't have as much cost, but your result's not going to be right. So now you're going to have callbacks. So one is linked to the other. It'd be really nice if it all just revolved around, hey, set it and forget it. But unfortunately, when it comes to our business in the, is treating lawns or spraying shrubbery or spraying for mosquitoes. I mean, fill in the blank on wherever you're applying pesticides, or fertilizers. There's a whole lot of things that are linked together to make it make sense. So don't ever think, hey, my calibration is over with. We check calibration, like I said, every day on applicators because we know, and they're checking themselves because they know what that variance is. Steven said, call him a calibration nerd. Absolutely, man. I mean, that's really what it boils down to is, but you want to be a calibration nerd because first and foremost, we want our customers who are paying for our professional service to get a professional service with a professional result at a fair price. And when those things can take place, because here's something else calibration to do for you guys, and I don't know if you thought about it from this standpoint, but it also, forgetting all the side of it from chemical use and BMPs and that whole thing, best management practices, right? Okay. Think of it from the standpoint of checking your estimates. Now, how does that help check your estimates? Well, you got to make sure that I'm trying to think the easiest way to say this. If I'm going out to treat 10,000 square foot lawn, let's say, or what I think is 10,000 square feet, and I'm the applicator, right? Then in Wayne's situation, we're calibrated at 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. That applicator then should use about 20 gallons of mixed product on that property. Well, if consistently, and you're not going to be 100% on every job. You're just not. I don't care how long you've been spraying, how good you are. I've sprayed 1 million yards. I've made a ton of applications when I was treating lawns. You're not always going to be right on, oh my God, I did that exact amount. But know that sometimes you may mismeasure a yard. So it may not be on the applicator. So you can know by checking that. So if in other words, if you're spraying what's on a route sheet as 28,000 square feet or 28,000, and we don't round them up or down, we put in there exactly what it is because for us, because we do track it each application and every day on a tank of square footage treated versus gallons used, we use it twofold. One, to make sure our calibration's good, our applicators are right, pressure is right and whatnot, but also to make sure that whoever did that estimate, whether it's the applicator because it was a yard next door, or if it's us that went out and measured it, or if it was a Google Earth measurement or whatever you were using for square footage. I hate to say it, but sometimes the measurement's off. So no matter how hard the applicator tries, the square footage is off, so they're not going to match up close enough. And I don't know what kind of variance you guys like to use. And that's something I'm sure that Stephen will talk about, and Eric will too. But the reality of it is there's some kind of variance that you're going to come up with, whether it's 3%, 5%, whatever variance of gallons used versus square footage treated, you may use as an acceptable number. I know that's what I like to work within, plus or minus 5%, and I think when we can do that, we're pretty damn close because we know 100% we're not 100% accurate with square footage, whether you measure it on Google Earth or you measure it on site. So we know there's going to be some plus or minus there, and there's going to be plus or minus walking speed, plus or minus overlap, because we're not robots running over these yards, right? We can be as good as we can be and care about our jobs and be properly trained and all those things. But at the end of the day, there are variables that are going to come into play on jobs that may affect that calibration. So I hammered that horse more than I wanted to. But I do want to tell Stephen thanks for his time yesterday and, touching on calibration side and label side. And you never get enough of that. I mean, honest to God, I was brain tired when he left from the math, but I finally had to tell him, I got to stop, man. Got to stop. And I love the math side of things, but calibration is very, very important. Let me see what we got here. I didn't get this Yarrow's text here. Let's see. What we got. Let's see. That's funny. Oh, Lord, let's see. Mike, that's funny. Mike jokingly said, my sprayer came calibrated. Uh, he said, but there was a guy in his market that used to say that all the time. I hear you, man. And that's why you got to check it all the time. Just keep it checked, keep doing it. And absolutely, let's get him in the profit circle. That's where we need him. Get there and get him some help. But let's see. After all this training, do you guys have employees sign non-competes? I'm wondering if you guys do that. Aaron Walsh wants to know if you guys have your employees sign non-competes. We do not. We don't. I mean, just not saying it's right or wrong. At the employee level, we just don't at this point in time. But I'm sure it wouldn't hurt, if you got guys that are people that you're working with. Absolutely. Yep. And so, yeah, Stephen, we had a request for you to get back in the profit circle and talk about something again. So Stephen does quite a bit for us. Oh my goodness. Mike says he didn't and doesn't do it either, Aaron. So I don't know. It's interesting. I know we got a lot of guys listening. I'd be curious to get your all's input on it as well. Whether you have everybody sign a non-compete or not. So it's always greener on the other side. That's the reality of that as well. So no pun intended with that. But I just had a guy on social media today. He had worked with a company here for 30 plus years and left them in this spring. And I think he's been to 2 other places already this spring. So it's not always greener on the other side. So with that being said, let's take a short break and we'll be right back with more profit time. John said, Aaron, he responded to your question about signing no competes. And John said they do not. However, they do have them signed for their uniforms. And yeah, we did the same thing when we had a uniform service. We've toggled back and forth on uniform services here. And right now we've toggled out again. But yeah, that can be more problematic than getting his going into his business for himself, to say the least. But I got a question here and for you guys. I don't know how you all feel about insurance jobs, but I wanted to touch on that just for a second. And first of all, do you do them? Do you like to do them? Do you go out and give quotes for somebody that calls and says, hey, we had a truck run off and we got to get 3 estimates, for our insurance company? And what really got me thinking about that was my roof situation with the weather. Okay. And, my insurance company sent an adjuster out, gave me some, hey, here's what we're going to give you for a roof. Here's your depreciation on the roof since it was 9 years old. but we'll give you that depreciation back since you've got replacement cost coverage if you get the work completed. Okay. The only important part of that whole message right there was that the insurance company sent an adjuster out who met my roofing contractor that we like to use within our family. Well, we know them. They're just down the street from us here. But I was curious why, and I know why, but I just want y'all's opinion on this. Tim Brennan, he says they really don't like insurance jobs, but they do charge $100 for the estimate. We do too. We do too because I can tell you over the years we've gotten zero that I can remember, and part of the reason we gotten zero of those recently is because we just don't do them anymore. I mean, nobody wants to pay an estimate for it, Daniel. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Because they're not planning on, getting that rut in their yard really fixed because most time it's not that bad. They'll do it. They just want the check, from the insurance company. But here's my question to you guys as well as not only just do you do insurance jobs. Mike said he hates doing them too. They charge 125. We're in that same boat. We'll charge for them. But why does an insurance company, and this would be a good question for Brad Stewart, who's in the Profit Circle with us, and our insurance guy, and he's been here on Turf's Up Radio as well as our industry expert. He's been doing insurance 30 plus years. Why do they send an adjuster out to look at your roof and then you get a price and then you give that pricing to your roofing company, for an example? But when it's the landscape that's messed up, we got to go do the estimate and be in that competition market. To me, it seems like it's a double standard on their side. Now, I know they want their adjuster to look at the roof because it's a more significant loss. I get that side of it. But, sometimes these jobs that they want you to look at where, a car ran off the road into their yard and through their landscape, those are several $1,000 estimates potentially. I think, and again, I'm not whining about it. I just want y'all's opinion on it. If I'm a roofing company, and I am not slamming the guys that we use because I like them, I've known their family a long time from working with them, and they, just they're down the street from us, literally 2 blocks. So, and they've been in business a long time, and their family run business too. They're in a better position as a roofing contractor because then what I was able to do was say, hey, Ryan, here you go, man. Here's what the insurance company says. Can you all get there, without my deductible? That makes it a whole lot easier on them, They're not having to. Now, he still had the time because he did meet the adjuster for me, because I wanted somebody. This is going to sound wrong, but I wanted somebody representing me there too. I don't know anything about roofs. And so he did that, and he said they do that a lot, so it's not a problem, But I don't know. It just seems like if a client called us up and said, hey, instead of I need an estimate, hey, I had a truck run in my yard and ran over three bushes and an ornamental tree or whatever, they wouldn't even have to tell me that. And our landscape got messed up. We got a price. We got an adjuster that said, hey, this is going to be a $5,000 job. Would y'all like to look at it? I would be more apt to go look at those than I am a job that's going to be $1,000 or $2,000 fix some ruts kind of job and know that I'm in the pool with 3 other people on that kind of work. I mean, what do you think, Daniel? I mean,
Not sure why they do it. I mean, different ways, but maybe it's just because the more natural relationship between roofers and insurance. So they've kind of created a better path Whereas most, I don't know what the percentage would be, but it seems like there's going to be definitely more roofing work done with insurance than a lot, compared to landscaping.
compared to
Maybe
landscaping work.
landscaping just hasn't created that
And
natural
and that may
closeness.
be it, but I'm gonna ask Brad about that because it does seem like it's a two standard thing. Same thing with car accidents, and it may be because of the ticket item. I mean, it's a bigger ticket, so they want their adjuster looking at it, and instead of the market saying, "Hey, this is what it's going to take. Here's what we're going to allow," kind of thing, and then that's always up for negotiation. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's true, Aaron. Maybe they can run over some landscape lighting instead of the grass. Uh, Mike said it's probably very similar to burying cable and internet wires not deep enough. Then that's probably true too. It's less expensive to not do it right, but it's cheaper to go back, than to bury it deeper. So that's it too. So I don't know. I appreciate y'all's input on that, and but anyway, I'm looking forward to getting a new roof, and had no idea I had that much damage up there. Quite honestly, I just had a few shingles that were blown off, um, and come to find out that there was more damage there than I thought, and it was actually from a previous storm where we had hail earlier on. So we have had quite a bit of crazy weather. I don't know what happened to Brett today. He was going to hop on with me, so find out. So it's not like him not to show up when he said he's going to. So we'll see how that goes back. But I don't know. The insurance jobs are just not my favorite thing to do, just because the time and effort you get involved in them. So I would certainly, for you younger guys that are in the industry, don't get hung up in that loop. Charge for the estimate. If they want you to come look at something, charge for the estimate. And I know for us, if somebody does want to pay the estimate fee, we tell them that, hey, that's giving us credit if you have us do the work, which I think is fair for everybody involved. Because to Daniel's point all the time, all we have is time, right? Everybody's got the same amount of time during the day. How we use that time is strictly up to us, and that's one of those things I don't want to be working on late at night if I don't have to, you know. Not that you mind doing estimates late at night. We all do it, but anyways, that's that. I got something funny I want to wrap my show up on today. Funny, but not funny. You guys know my feeling on bi-weekly mowing. I think it's the worst thing you can get yourself into. I always get a lot of comments when we talk about this, here on Turfs Up Radio from our listeners that don't text us, but until then. But I'm not a fan of biweekly mowings. Tri-weekly mowings have seem to be the thing that people are requesting now. That's new. Hey, can you do it every 3 weeks? We've had so much rain and grass growing so much this year that I cannot imagine. Every 3 weeks. We literally got one account that we do on a biweekly basis, and we know better. We absolutely know better, knew better. Talk about not doing it. It's kind of like whenever I talk about biweekly mowings, I say, okay, you're allowed one or two based on your company size, but, and I'm not talking about in the winter when the grass had grown. I'm talking about right now, this time of the year where grass is growing pretty much everywhere, regularly and steadily, you know. But now, it gets into, if you're bidding the job properly, then that's up to you. If you want to have the headache of mowing it every 2 weeks, I just don't like the scheduling conflicts that potentially come into play with biweekly mowings. We used to do quite a bit, and it was a pain in the butt with scheduling as our company grew. The smaller yard, easier it is to do, but still it's a losing proposition a lot of times from a profitability standpoint. But we had this one that we were doing. location, little not an HOA, but a part, condominiums. I guess they are an HOA, called Chapel View. And, but anyways, they had always been on a weekly service cycle till this year. And they let a management company take them over here locally. And we told them, this goes back into February, we told them that they were not going to be happy with a biweekly cut, but because of their history with us, our dumb butts decided to go with it and do it, and say, okay, here's what we're going to charge you. They agreed to the price, which was more than what they should have been paying. But it was for our pain and suffering of doing a biweekly cut. So technically, it wasn't more than what they should have been paying. It was us getting compensated fairly for the problematic issues of the account. Is that a fair way of saying that?
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, we get our Dear John call from the management company the other day. That's, the quality this year has really went downhill. Well, of course, we've got 40 freaking inches of rain literally already, and you're doing it every 2 weeks. And I will say, in our defense, it never went past 14 days. Never. So this year. I mean, we would do it on a 12th day rather than the 14th day just because we knew what it was going to be. And thank God, well, we'd have never done it if it was a big property. It was like, it's a one building location, I think it's like 5,800 square feet or something like that. And they were paying a fair price to get it done. But the quality is not the same on a biweekly cut. That's just the way it is. It's not the quality of the cut when you're finished. It's what it looks like to the residents in between cuts. Absolutely, John. I hear you, buddy. I hear you loud and clear. That is true. The PETA account, that's exactly it, the PETA fee. But so we just don't want y'all to come back. And Katie's like, well, that's fine, but we told you all in advance this was going to be the problem. And well, our other contractors, blah, 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 blah. Well, good. I'm glad your other contractors are like that. And they enjoy doing that. And they're willing to come back and make you happy for free. Because we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're just not doing it. So fine, you want to cancel? We cancel. And Katie says, well, we'll go ahead and we'll send you a final billing for the next 30 days. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, your contract specifically states that, we require a 30-day cancellation. And well, we don't remember that. Well, guess what? Katie sent them a copy of their contract. That's why we're not talking about contracts today. We're actually out of time. But let me say this, and then we're going to let Darren hop on there, because he's going to hop on, I believe, after my show. That's exactly why we utilize a service agreement. There's not a quality issue with that job. The issue is we've had a ton of more rain above average than normal. Grass is growing like crazy. And it's getting too high in between cycles, and their residents are saying, why it didn't look like that the last several years. That's because you guys decided to go with a management company that wanted to keep a little more of the retained earnings rather than having your personal property look good. I guarantee you the management company owner and or their managers, they're not cutting their shit twice a month now. But hey, they wanted to do it their way because they could save you all a little bit of money. But now you're not happy, and it's your home, and you see it all the time. But anyways, hey, I had to share that with you because y'all know how I feel about bi-weeklies. So now I can officially say that WLS, Wayne's Lawn Service in Louisville, Kentucky, is down to 0 bi-weekly mowing accounts, and it feels really good. So with that being said, you guys have a great weekend. Stay tuned to Turfs Up Radio. Don't forget about our webinar next Wednesday, June 25th at 7 p.m. We're going to go through some cost sheets and show you how easy it is to take the guesswork out of your bidding forever. Appreciate you, Seth. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for everybody's comments. You guys have a great weekend. And remember, profit is not the dirty word.